Telling that story literally gives me chills. Hey loves, what is up you guys? I am back with another video. I don't know how to do intros, so we're just gonna jump right into this. I'm sorry if I sound weird, you guys. I've been sick and I wanted to film today because I want to keep on a schedule, and if I waited a few days there might be a possibility that I lost my voice completely because it's kind of going in and out. So I just decided to go ahead and film today and see how it goes. So I made a poll on Twitter and asked you guys what you wanted to see. It was a choice of a makeup video or a prank or a story time, and a story time was what you guys wanted. So I decided to tell you guys of the many weird encounters that I've had. I don't know if they're ghosts per se or if it's like, I don't know, but it's definitely paranormal things that have happened to me. It's so weird. So the definition of paranormal is events beyond the scope of normal scientific understanding. So whether it be ghosts or demons or who knows what else, it's beyond my understanding, so it's weird. First, I'm going to start off with experiences that have happened in my house and just weird things that have happened growing up. The first one is a story about the time that I was laying in bed at my mom's house, and I was really little, like, I don't know, around the time where, like, my mom would still come and, like, tuck me in bed. One time, I had heard my door open, and I lived in an old house, and the doors creak, the house creaks, just weird stuff happens all the time. So that was kind of normal. I heard the door open, and then I heard footsteps, and so, you know, like when you're laying in bed and someone sits on the edge of your bed, like the mattress kind of shifts and like your blankets kind of like lay tight over you and it's pressure, you know, like pressure in the bed. So that happened. Like I felt someone sit on the edge of my bed and like to the point where like my body moved. And I thought it was my mom or someone, and I just kind of laid there, and then like nothing happened, no one said anything, she didn't wake me up, and I was like, what is she doing? So like I rolled over to like answer her, like look at her like, what, why are you just sitting in my bed staring at me? And there was no one there. The door was open, but no one was in there with me. My dogs weren't in there, like nothing had happened for like a physical human being or a dog to be in my room for me to feel that. And that's, I don't know how to explain that other than it was just really weird. There's another time also at my mom's house when I had a girl staying the night with me, and it was, we were like 13, we were little, and I think it was like Halloween or something because we were watching old scary movies. It was me and my mom and this girl that I was friends with back then. I'm not gonna say her name because I don't know if she wants me to. We were watching an old scary movie, and all of a sudden we like hear this weird like clanging or clinking noise, like as if something had like fallen and shattered. So my mom gets up to go in there and check it out, and me and this girl go in there and look, and my mom has this like wine glass rack under her cabinets where they hang from the stem of the wine glass, and like you have to like hook it and then slide it all the way back, so it's not just like hanging there on the edge or whatever. It's kind of like you have to meticulously work it in there so that they won't fall off. All of the glasses had fallen off of the rack and were like on the floor or like rolling around. I don't think any of them broke, but my mom put them all back and was like, well, that was weird. She puts them back, we see her, they're fine, they're not moving, nothing, they're back where they were. So we go back to finish watching our movie, and about 30 minutes later, like it had been a while since this had happened, we hear the clinking again, but it's not as loud, and we look over there and all like 4 rows of the wine glasses were just swinging back and forth. No one had been over there and touched them in 30 minutes. We did not have a cat at this time, so there wasn't anything that could have like run under them, or we didn't have a small dog that could have like, or a big dog that could have jumped up there. Like no one was in the house but us, and these wine glasses were swinging again. And this is to this day, no one knows what happened. The door wasn't open, the air conditioning wasn't on, like nothing happened that could have like made that happen, especially 2 times in a row after my mom had just put them back up there. So that was weird. And then of course my mom decides to hide in her bedroom and scare the living crap out of me and this girl. Needless to say, she left before the night was over and never came to stay at my house ever again. And I know, because every time I see her, she brings that up. And she is still terrified and thinks that my house is haunted to this day. And we are like 20 years old. So my next few stories take place in New Orleans because me and my family used to go to New Orleans pretty often. It's only a few hours drive from where we live, and we love the culture and we always have a good time and we love creepy things. So there's this particular hotel. It's called the Plaza de Armas. Plaza de Arms. I don't know how to pronounce it. It was an orphanage and it ended up burning down, and all of the little boys that lived there ended up dying. I think it might have been boys and girls, I'm not sure, but all the little kids that lived there ended up dying and burning to death because it wasn't architecture back then just was not very safe, was not very well thought out. And this place ended up going up in flames, and all of the kids ended up dying. Well, not all of them, but a good many children ended up dying. And so when they rebuilt this place, they rebuilt it as a hotel, and it's a very beautiful hotel. The reason we stay is because it's so beautiful and the staff is so nice, and of course it's creepy and haunted, so that's why would you not want to stay there? Every single time we have stayed there, some crazy crap has happened. So the very first time we went, me and my mom ended up staying in a room together, and then it was my mom's first cousin, her husband, and her son. They stayed in another room all the way across the hotel. So if you walk directly through the hotel, you'd have to walk through this huge courtyard and pool to get from our room to our cousin's room, which is on the complete opposite side. We get there and we part ways, and me and my mom go to our room. Susie and Preston and Scott, they go to the other room, and we're getting ready to go out and have dinner with them. So I went and unpacked my bags and laid on the bed, and my mom was in the bathroom getting ready. So the way that our hotel room was set up, it was 3 of the walls were just like regular walls that you would have in a hotel room, and then the 4th wall on the very back side of the room was a brick wall, and that's where my bed was. It was directly pushed up against the brick wall. I was laying in bed and my mom was in the bathroom on the other side of the room, and I couldn't see in the bathroom, but I could like see her. So I was laying there just chilling on my phone doing who knows what, and I hear a knocking noise, and I think that it's my mom. I was like, Mom, why are you knocking? I'm right here. What the heck are you doing? And she's like, what are you talking about? And she pokes her head out of the room, and as she is looking at me, like I can see her entire body. She's got her curling iron in one hand and her comb in the other hand, looking directly at me, and we both at the same time hear this ba 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 right beside my head where that brick wall is. And I don't know about you guys, but it's pretty freaking hard to knock on a brick wall and make a noise, especially that loud. And it sounded like someone, like, not like a bang, like hitting the back of your hand, like a audible knocking. He heard me knock. And so I bolted out of that bed and like ran to her, and I was like, did you hear that? And she was like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. And so I freaked out. I refused to spend the night in that room after that. I packed all of my stuff up, went to the other side of the hotel room, and slept in the bed with my little cousin Preston. I was like, this is not happening. I am not staying in this room. This is just, no, not happening. That was by my bed. And so the next night, I think we went on a haunted tour or something, and Susie was like taking pictures, and she noticed that her camera was capturing orbs on these haunted hotels or haunted trails or whatever. But it was only in the very haunted spots. Like, it wasn't in the normal, just like taking a picture of us in a restaurant or walking on the street. Like, it wasn't in the normal areas. It was where it was said to be very haunted. So we had told Susie about this story of the knocking, and of course she was like, oh, I want to go in your room and take pictures and see if I can capture some orbs. If you don't know what orbs are, there's these little like spherical things when you take pictures, and sometimes you can capture them. I'm not sure if it's like a reflection of the light, or it's said to be that you captured like the movement or the presence of a ghost or whatever. Like, that's what people say it is. Each little orb represents like a spirit or whatever, and you actually captured it on camera. I don't know. I know there's 1,000 reasons to why that could be happening, but that's what I've always been told, that it is a ghost presence that you captured on a camera. So Susie decides that she wants to go into my room and take pictures of the room to see if she can capture some orbs or whatever. And so she takes pictures all in the room, doesn't capture anything. The last picture that she takes is of my bed. And in the very like top right hand corner, she caught like a half of an orb. And so she was like, oh my gosh, I caught an orb over your bed. And so she takes another picture a little bit higher, and there are 4 orbs in the shape of a heart. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like in the shape of a heart above my bed on the brick wall that I heard knocking come from. Exactly where I heard it come from. I don't know how you explain it. This was the next day. The next day. So this was really creepy. It freaked me out, and I was like, refused to even walk in that room after that. So after that happened, I was in my swimsuit ready to go get in the pool with my cousin Preston. So we go get in the pool, and I guess Susie decided that she wanted to go try it out in her room. So they like walk across the courtyard past us in the pool and tell us, hey, we're gonna go take pictures in my room and see if we can capture some more. So they go in her room and they're taking pictures all in the room. I ended up getting out of the pool and following them in there. And right as I walk in the door and close the door, my mom says that she feels like a cold gust of air go past her feet. And Susie takes pictures of mom's feet, and there are orbs like all over her feet, like all around. And so I'm like, that is creepy. Like, stay away from me. I don't want any of that around me. And so Susie snaps a picture of me to see if there's anything around me. And there are orbs like all around my head coming toward, like each picture, they're like closer to my head. And I literally lost my crap. And about like the exact time that Susie was showing me the pictures, and I like was washed with this absolute terror, because who knows how many ghosts were just standing around my head right now. My little cousin Preston bangs on the door directly behind me, scares the crap out of me, and I like take off running to the other side of the room. And I had just gotten out of the pool, so I was dripping wet, and my mom and my cousin Susie to this day say I peed myself, but I swear it was just because I was in the pool, and I will never live that story down. So there's another story also in this same hotel, a completely different trip. Me and my mom and my dad had gone on this trip. So while we were there, we would wake up early, eat breakfast, and then we would leave and spend the day in New Orleans and just go in shops and hang out and do whatever we wanted throughout the day, eat, whatever. Then we would come back at about 3 o'clock, take a nap from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock we would go eat dinner and spend the rest of the night out on the town and stay up late. At 3 o'clock, every time we would come back from walking down the streets and going in shops and stuff, we would hear upstairs these like little kids like jumping off the bed and like laughing and just having a good old time, fighting, like just bang, 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 bang. Like we would hear them, like it sounded like they were jumping off the bed onto the ground and then like running around and jumping back up on the bed. And this whole time we kept saying like, oh my gosh, whose kids are like just chilling in the hotel room at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? And it was just like so weird, because it would be like the entire time that we were trying to take a nap. So later on during this trip, we were walking around the hotel, and my mom notices that there's not any kids around. Like the only other family that's there is a family of 2 adults and a teenage daughter, just like us. One day my dad goes downstairs because he had to get something from the front desk, and while he was down there he was like, hey, do you know who's staying in the room above us? And the guy was like, I don't think there's anyone in the room above you. So that was weird. Literally in a haunted orphanage. We were just like, I guess it's the ghost kids running around up there. So sometimes on these New Orleans trips, we would go on haunted tours. One of the tours that me and my mom and my cousin Susie took while we were down there was a haunted history tour. So it was not only just like haunted houses, it was like actual historical things that happened that created weird encounters afterwards. Plaza de Armes was one of the places that was on this tour, but another place that was on this tour was the LaLaurie house. The reason this place was so haunted was because of all the slaves that died there and went through horrible things there. And maybe she didn't die there, but the slave owner was there so much that, I mean, her spirit could have been locked in that place, you know, like that was her home, that was where she grew up, that's where all of these things that she did happened. The street that we were on, there was no one on the streets. It was just our group on this tour because it was really late at night. No one really goes to this part of town because it was where the really rich people lived. The girl that was standing directly next to my mom took a picture, and in the picture you can see this girl wearing a long red Victorian looking dress, and in the very next picture she's gone. She's not there. All we know is we have this picture of this girl that was not there, and she seems to be in this long dress. I'm gonna show the picture right here, and she seems to be walking with a man. You can see his forearm, so we don't know who this person was in this picture, but it's really creepy, and we have no explanation of how this happened because, like I said, there was no one on the streets. And at first we thought maybe it was on the same street that we were standing on and they walked behind us and we didn't see it. But none of us were in the reflection of the window. And even in the reflection of the window, like her like dress fades down onto the brick under the window, and then she just kind of disappears at the end. Like there's no end of her body. It's just the dress and then this faded out bottom portion of her outfit. And it's a very weird thing, very creepy. The first time I have ever seen a ghost being caught on camera, and that was just bizarre to me. So I really don't want to tell this story simply because of the person involved, because I don't want it to sound like I'm like coming after her or like making fun of her or whatever. I'm not doing anything negative. I'm simply telling this story because it does end with a paranormal encounter, and it really freaked me out and it makes me uncomfortable to talk about, but I'm gonna tell the story because that's what I'm doing. For the sake of her, I'm going to change her name to Emerald. I knew Emerald because we went to aesthetic school together, and we ended up becoming friends right off the bat because she was the only person that was my age. Everyone else in my class was 25 and older, and we just kind of were pushed to be friends. So eventually Emerald's birthday came and she asked me to stay the night with her, and I was going to hang out with her in Alexandria. Before I went over to her house, she told me that her stepmom was a Wiccan worshiper, Wicca practicer. I don't know the terminology. I don't know anything about Wicca or Wiccan, whatever it is. I just know that it's a pagan witchcraft if you search it online. So when she told me this, it kind of like made me uneasy, but she told me because she didn't want me to freak out. So obviously I was like, well, I can't freak out now. And I was trying to be open-minded and just be like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, I don't know anything about it. So I just kind of like assumed that it was kind of all in her head, or I don't know if I believe that witchcraft is real. I just kind of think like it's all in people's head, or like maybe there's something else going on. I have no idea, but I honestly don't know anything about it, so I can't say heads or tail about it. And I don't want to offend anyone when I say that, but it just makes me uncomfortable. We were doing our thing, hanging out, watching movies, whatever. She shared a bunk bed with her sister, so I ended up sleeping on the bottom bunk with her. And throughout this night that I was staying the night with her, like I kept misplacing things. Like I kept losing my phone and my keys and like little things that I had brought with me, and finding them in weird places, like places that I hadn't even. The whole time that I was there, I only walked in her living room, her bedroom, and the bathroom. That was the only places that I have been. And the whole time that I was with her, she was only in the living room, her bedroom and the bathroom. And never once was I not in the same room with her. There's no way that she could have done this. I ended up losing my keys and searching for them for like 30 minutes while I was leaving. And she kept saying, I don't remember the name that she was saying, so I'm just gonna say Keith. She kept saying that, oh, Keith probably got them. Like, Keith's playing his games. Keith stole them. Like, it's fine. We'll find them. I knew that she had a little brother, but I assumed that maybe I just had not seen him this whole time, and he was like holed up in his room and just like a little ninja that came out and then went back in there. I don't know. But I knew she had a brother, so I was like, oh, well, Keith must be her brother. No. She ended up finding my keys in a bag, zipped up in another suitcase under the bed. The room that she found them in, I had never even walked in there. And so I was like, how did my keys just happen to end up in a bag zipped up in a suitcase? She was like, oh, that's what Keith does. He plays games. He probably doesn't want you to leave because he likes you. And I said, I never even saw your little brother the whole time I was here. Like, how does he like me if I never even saw him the whole time that I was here? And she just kind of looks at me and she's like, my little brother's not here. What are you talking about? And I was, I just kind of looked at her and I said, I thought you said he stole my keys. And she goes, oh no, Keith is the ghost that lives in this house. You mean to tell me I spent the entire night and most of the next day and you didn't tell me a ghost lives in this house? A ghost that you know the name of that loves to play games? Yeah, so I was just like, that is extremely creepy and I don't know how to take that. I start asking questions about Keith because that freaks me out and I would think that she's kidding, but my keys were zipped up in a suitcase in another bag in a room that I did not go in. So that freaks me out. And so apparently the bed that I slept on was Keith's bed that he died on in an insane asylum. Apparently there was a kid named Keith that was in an insane asylum, and of course they have their own rooms with their own beds, and I don't know the story of how he died or what happened, but he died in this bed, and the asylum apparently shut down or was throwing out their beds because they got new ones, and her stepmom ended up with it somehow, and now it was in their house, and the reason that they know that his name is Keith and what his story is was because he contacted her stepmother, who is clairvoyant or like a sensitive person who can see spirits and talk with spirits and voodoo, whatever. And she tells me that her stepmother sensed him or saw him or whatever and then looked up the information and it ended up checking out his name, everything, the fact that he died in his room, like all of it was right that her stepmother was saying before they even looked it up. And she told me that this ghost was connected to her stepmother and that when her stepmother and her dad would fight, it would make her dad sick, like a kid that would throw temper tantrums, but he liked to play games and he could be dangerous, but he's not dangerous. Yeah, there's a lot. It's it really creeps me out because I know this happened and there's no other explanation for it, and all of the stuff that she said checked out. The fact that there is a spirit living in that house that can interact with you means that that is a very angry spirit or a very strong spirit. So that really creeps me out and terrifies me to the point that I never stayed at her house ever again. Telling that story literally gives me chills and makes me so uncomfortable. But anyways, thank you guys for watching and listening to my story time. Make sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications for when I post. Let me know down in the comment section what you want to see next. Bye guys!